He walked in wearing old sneakers, a faded hoodie, and jeans with holes. The teller rolled her eyes. The manager didn't even look up. They thought he was homeless. But 10 minutes later, that same man walked back in with a lawyer, a security team, and a document that made every employee freeze in place. Why? Because he didn't come to make a withdrawal anymore. He came to buy the entire building and fire the one person who humiliated him the most. This is not just a story about money. It's about dignity, judgment, and the most epic revenge you've never seen coming. It was a typical Tuesday morning in downtown Atlanta. People bustled through the streets, Starbucks cups in hand, car horns echoed through the city canyons, and inside the marble-floored lobby of Heritage First National Bank, things were calm, pristine, and cold. The bank was everything you'd imagine from a luxury financial institution. High ceilings, gold-plated name plaques, stylishly dressed clients in tailored suits and heels. Every cent screamed money and prestige. Then he walked in. He looked like he didn't belong. Torn sneakers, a beat-up backpack slung over one shoulder, a hoodie with faded colors, and cargo pants that had clearly seen better days. Security immediately glanced up. The receptionist frowned, and the woman behind the counter at window number 3, her name tag read Ashley, sighed dramatically and whispered to her coworker, another one asking to use the bathroom. But he didn't look confused. He walked up to the line, waited his turn, and when his number was called, he stepped forward with quiet confidence. "Hi," he said. "I'd like to make a withdrawal." Ashley looked him up and down, scanning his hoodie like it personally offended her. "Do you have an account with us?" "Yes." She sighed again and pulled up the screen. "Name?" she asked, almost daring him to say something ridiculous. He answered. She typed it in, bored, impatient, then suddenly stopped. Her eyebrows furrowed. She stared at the screen a little longer. She leaned closer, refreshed the page, because what she was seeing made no sense. From the moment he stepped inside the bank, it was like he didn't belong. Not in this palace of polished marble floors, glass walls, and men in tailored suits speaking in hushed tones about six-figure transfers. Not in this world of wealth management, private portfolios, and luxury credit cards made of metal. He walked in wearing a faded t-shirt, wrinkled sweatpants, and old sneakers that had definitely seen better days. His hair was a little messy, his beard thick, and he didn't carry a briefcase or even a proper wallet, just a folded piece of paper in his hand and a bank card. And yet, he walked straight up to the teller like he had every right to be there. "Next," called the teller, a blonde woman in her early 30s with perfectly manicured nails and a polished smile that disappeared the moment she looked up and saw him. Her name tag read Caitlin. She blinked twice, quickly scanned him from head to toe, and then gave the kind of smile that says, "You're clearly lost." "Sir, are you sure you're in the right place?" she asked, already suspicious. "Yes," the man replied calmly, ignoring the sideways glances from the other customers behind him. "I need to make a withdrawal." She looked down at the account number he had written on the paper and then back up at him. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard. "What kind of withdrawal?" she asked, folding her arms. 300,000, he said without blinking. The silence was instant. A man in a business suit behind him snorted. The elderly woman in the next line slowly turned her head to stare. Caitlin stared at him like he had just announced he was an astronaut. $300,000? "Yes, US dollars," he said, pulling out a weathered black debit card and sliding it across the counter. "It's my account." She didn't move. "Sir, I'm going to need to verify this," she said curtly, before turning to her colleague and whispering something under her breath. Seconds later, a security guard approached. A tall, clean-shaven man with a heavy walkie-talkie and one hand already resting near his belt. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, staring down at the man like he was about to cause a scene. "No," the man said politely. "I'm just trying to withdraw some money." The teller scoffed. "He says 300,000. The security guard raised his eyebrows. "From here?" More laughter now from the line behind him. One man actually pulled out his phone as if expecting to record the moment the guy got thrown out. The veteran didn't flinch. He simply stood there, calm as ever. Caitlin finally decided to swipe the card. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, slowly pulling up the account. And then she froze. There on the screen was the number she hadn't expected, a number that almost made her fall out of her chair. $2,481,697, 203.94. $2.4 billion, not million. Billion. Her mouth parted slightly. She blinked, then blinked again. Behind her, the assistant branch manager had walked up after seeing the growing commotion. He looked over Caitlin's shoulder and his jaw dropped. "Wait, is this?" he began. The man standing in front of them calmly nodded. "That's my account. I'd like to withdraw 300,000 in cash. And I'd like it done quickly, please. I've got a meeting in 15 minutes. Caitlin's entire demeanor changed in an instant. Her smugness evaporated. Her voice wavered. Of course, sir. Right away." The security guard stepped back, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Everyone had seen the way they treated him. Like trash. Like a joke. Like he was wasting their time. He had come in peace. He had walked in like a regular man. But the moment they saw his clothes, they decided who he was. Now they were about to find out. And he wasn't done yet. The stack of crisp bills was finally handed to him. 300,000 in neatly banded bundles. Caitlin's hands shook as she passed them across the counter. The assistant branch manager hovered nearby, smiling awkwardly, trying to save face. The veteran's silence was louder than any words. As he counted the bundles slowly, deliberately, the entire bank watched in stunned silence. And then he reached into his sweatpants pocket, pulled out his phone, and calmly made a call. "Yeah, it's me," he said, looking directly at Caitlin as he spoke. "Go ahead and finalize the offer. I'll sign the purchase docs today." The entire staff froze. "Yes, buy the building, full acquisition. I want the holding company paperwork on my desk in 30 minutes. And tell them the name on the deed needs to change. Immediately." The bank manager turned pale. "You're buying this building?" he whispered. The man put the phone down and stared directly into the eyes of the teller who had humiliated him. "That's right. I've been eyeing this property for a while. Prime location. Great investment opportunity." He smiled, but it wasn't warm. "You know what else is a great investment?" he continued. "People." Caitlin stood frozen. Her face went red. The same woman who had mocked his appearance was now visibly trembling behind the glass. "I always believed you can tell the character of a person by how they treat someone who has nothing to offer them," he said. "And I've seen all I need to see today." He turned to the branch manager. "Effective immediately. She's fired." The manager's eyes widened. "Sir, I don't think—" "I'm not asking," the man interrupted. "I'll own the building by this afternoon. And once that happens, every tenant, every lease, every contract, including this bank's, is subject to my approval." He turned back to Caitlin. "Pack up your things." The air in the room was electric. Customers stood with mouths hanging open. Someone in line whispered, "Did he just fire her?" Yes, he did. She tried to stammer a defense, but the veteran cut her off. "You saw a man in cheap clothes and decided he didn't deserve respect. You didn't know his story. You didn't ask his name. You just assumed." Then he turned to the security guard. "You too." The guard looked stunned. "What? I didn't do anything?" You stood there, watched it happen, backed her up. That's doing something. The veteran grabbed his cash, slid his phone back into his pocket, and began to walk toward the exit. But just before leaving, he turned back and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Never judge a man by his clothes. You never know who you're looking at." And then he walked out, slowly, confidently, as the entire bank stared in stunned silence. But the story didn't end there, because within the hour, news vans would start showing up outside the building. Word would spread online, and within 24 hours, Caitlin's name would be trending, not in the way she ever imagined. The man she had mocked would become a legend. The next morning, the bank opened its doors to a very different atmosphere. Gone was the smugness, gone was the judgment, and gone, officially, were Caitlin and the security guard. But the real story had just started. That day, a major business news site published a headline that lit up every phone in the country. "Homeless-looking man buys entire bank building after being denied service. Turns out he's a tech billionaire." Within hours, millions of views. The man's name? Derek L. Crawford, founder of one of the fastest-growing fintech startups in the world, a former systems engineer for NASA, a Harvard graduate, decorated veteran, self-made billionaire. But he didn't look like any of those things that day, because he didn't want to. In a follow-up interview, Derek sat in a studio chair wearing, once again, a plain t-shirt and jeans. And when the reporter asked him why, he simply said, "Because I needed to know if the bank I was about to invest in treats every customer with dignity, even if they're not dressed in a suit." The audience in the studio gasped. "Let me be clear," Derek continued. "I didn't walk in there to teach a lesson. I walked in to test a culture, and unfortunately, they failed." He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. But he was firm. If you can't show decency to someone in sweatpants, you don't deserve to serve someone in Armani. The clip went viral. People around the country applauded him for his message. Young people posted their own stories of discrimination. Older folks said it gave them hope. Even celebrities reposted the video. But Derek, he kept it moving. 2 weeks later, he officially took over the building. Renovations started. A new mural was painted across the lobby, not of a corporate logo, but of regular people. A janitor, a mama, a man in a wheelchair, and yes, a man in ragged clothes. At the center of the mural, a quote, "Your worth isn't measured by your wardrobe." Inside the bank, he implemented new staff training. Every employee, from branch manager to security, went through empathy, bias, and community service programs. Caitlin, she applied for a new job, but every interview she attended asked about the incident. Her online reputation, unfortunately, was stained. She tried to issue a statement, but the damage was done. Derek never gloated. In fact, when asked about her in a later interview, he said, "I hope she learns. I don't hate her. But actions have consequences." She had the power to make someone's day better, and chose the opposite. But perhaps the most powerful moment came months later when a young boy, maybe 12, walked into the newly revamped bank, accompanied by his mother. He wore secondhand shoes, holes in his backpack, and this time the staff didn't look down on him. Instead, they smiled, welcomed him, even offered him a free financial literacy brochure for teens. And somewhere in the back, Derek watched, smiling. Not because he bought a building, but because he changed it. Because he made a statement without screaming. Because sometimes the most powerful voice is calm. Thank you for watching. If you want more stories that shake the world and inspire change, press like and check out our channel. We've got 100 more just like this one. Let's change the world, one story at a time.